My ex-boyfriend dumped me via SMS a week before our wedding for his dream job. 3 years later, he came back and wanted everything back. But I was already married to his relative. Hi, I'm 30, and I was once engaged to my ex-fiancé Felix, who is now 34. At the time of the engagement, I was 26, so almost 4 years ago. We were supposed to get married 3 years ago, but he broke up with me via SMS a week before the wedding and flew to Germany, where he had been offered his dream job. Felix and I met through mutual friends and had been dating for 3 years when he proposed. He was a zoologist by training and already a professor. I always knew he wanted something more, to contribute to science and the world. It sounded great, of course. When he got an offer to join a new research project as a scientist, he accepted and left, without even talking to me. That happened a week before the wedding. He and his friends were supposed to fly to Hawaii for his bachelor party, but he never showed up at the airport. Only a few hours later, we learned that he was already in Germany and had broken up with me, because he got an offer he couldn't refuse. He said he knew I couldn't just give up my life, friends, family, and career, and didn't want me to sacrifice anything, but he also didn't want to give up his dream for me. So, after much thinking, he decided to act alone. He didn't want a long goodbye or hard conversations, so he left suddenly. He apologized, said he was sure I'd find someone better, and that he was sorry it had to end like this. But his dreams were too important to sacrifice. I didn't have a problem with him following his dream. I just wished he'd at least talk to me before making the decision to leave. I've worked as an architect all my life, and my only work goal was to earn enough money to afford everything I wanted. I never wanted to change the world or do anything noble. Maybe that's why I didn't understand his priorities. Or maybe I'm just a regular person who understands the importance of communication and knows not to lie to your fiancée and dump her via SMS a week before the wedding. Anyway, after the breakup, we of course lost all contact. All our mutual friends cut him off too. Everything had been perfect when we were together, and the breakup hit me like a truck. I tried to cope, but I really just fell apart for several weeks. Felix paid for all the wedding arrangements as an apology, so I didn't lose any money, and that meant I had no reason to contact him again. We had lived together for a long time. Before he left, and a few weeks after he left, his cousin Sam, who's 32, came to pick up the rest of his stuff. Felix left a lot behind so I wouldn't suspect anything. I had seen Sam a couple of times at family events, but we were never close, and he and Felix didn't really keep in touch either. Apparently, no one else in the family wanted to deal with him, so Felix offered Sam $2,000 to ship him his things. Sam played guitar in a band that was still trying to make a name for itself, and he needed the money, so he agreed. When Sam came to my house to pick up Felix's things, I tried to stay out of the way, but I probably looked like a mess. Instead of just grabbing the stuff and leaving, he decided to stay and talk to me. I wasn't in the mood for conversation, but he didn't leave until I opened up. And once I started, I couldn't stop. It was awkward, and I ended up crying in front of him. He just sat with me and comforted me. He let me cry and then told me I had to be strong. He also said Felix was an idiot who didn't even realize what he had lost. That meant a lot to me, because Felix's departure shattered my self-esteem. That day, Sam even left me his number and told me to call if I ever wanted to talk. Then he gave me a goodbye hug. It was so touching, especially considering he didn't owe me anything. He was just there to pick up his cousin's stuff, and we weren't even close. But he still cared, and that really moved me. We stayed in touch, and a couple months later we became close friends. He's the one who helped me feel happy again. And honestly, I don't think I could have gotten through that breakup without him. He encouraged me to leave the house, go to work, see friends on the weekends instead of drinking alone at home. At the same time, he understood when I needed space. On those days, he'd just come over and quietly sit with me. I didn't even notice how I fell in love with him. He was spending more and more time at my place until 2 years ago he came over and just never left. That's how we started living together. Some might think it was strange or too fast, but I don't, because I truly love him. Now we're even married, so I think it's safe to say this is long-term. We moved in and earlier this year decided to get married, partly for practical and legal reasons. We had a small ceremony. Hardly anyone knew about it, just the way we wanted. His entire family and my friends were told not to tell anyone, especially Felix. We didn't want him to know because he probably wouldn't take it well, knowing I married his cousin. Honestly, I didn't want any drama, so everyone had strict instructions to keep it a secret. Even Felix's parents were invited because they'd always treated me well, even after our breakup. And they gave us their blessing. They also promised not to tell Felix, though I had my doubts, since they'd forgiven him just a couple months after he dumped me, but I didn't blame them. He's their only son, after all. Thankfully, everyone kept their word, including his parents, and Felix didn't find out about our wedding. Several months passed, and married life with Sam was pure bliss. I realized Felix had been right. I did find someone better. Everything was perfect. Until last week, when Felix suddenly showed up at my door, I was in shock. I hadn't seen or heard from him in 3 years. He never tried to reach out, never asked how I was. I hadn't messaged him either. Our mutual friends had told me he'd come home for the holidays a few times, but we never crossed paths, and he didn't reach out to anyone either. But this time, he decided to talk to me, and instead of texting or arranging a normal meeting, he just showed up at my house with flowers. Before I could even speak, he apologized for destroying our relationship and said he was finally ready to make things right. He wanted me to forgive him. He said the project he'd been working on had failed. They ran out of funding and it was unlikely they'd get a new grant anytime soon. So he quit and came back home, for good. He told me he regretted letting me go, especially the way he did it, via SMS. He admitted I deserved better after all those years. At least I was glad he finally realized that. He ended his dramatic speech by saying, now that he's back, we could pick up where we left off and finally get married. He claimed that after 3 years apart, he realized I'm the woman of his dreams, and leaving me was the biggest mistake of his life. Now, he wanted a second chance to be together again. I let him finish his whole speech without interrupting. I wanted to see where he was going with it. When he stopped talking, I simply showed him the ring on my finger and told him I was already married and to Sam, his cousin, who, by the way, is 1,000 times better than him, and that his apology was too late and meant nothing to me anymore. His jaw literally dropped. I took the opportunity to slam the door in his face and told him to leave. I was furious. Later, I tried to calm down before Sam came home. It was the weekend and he'd been out with friends. His band broke up a couple of years ago, around the time we started taking things seriously, and he had started working for an event agency run by his friend's dad. If they ever needed live music, he and his old bandmates would get together and play again. Everything was great. He'd had a tough week with several events in a row, so the time off was well earned. I didn't want to bother him, so I didn't call or text. I just waited. When he came home, I told him Felix had come. Bye. He said he'd gotten a call from his uncle, Felix's dad, but didn't know what he wanted and had planned to call back later. Now, after hearing what happened, he felt awkward and uncomfortable. He admitted he hadn't thought about how it might look to Felix when he found out. I told him it didn't matter, because he dumped me without even saying goodbye or offering an explanation. So Felix's opinion? Irrelevant. Now it means absolutely nothing after this conversation. We decided to contact Felix's parents because they had tried several times to reach Sam. They also tried to call me, but I wasn't really checking my phone because I was too irritated. When we finally spoke to them, they told us that right after visiting me, Felix went to his parents' place and caused a real scene because of what he had found out. First, he yelled at them for hiding the truth from him for so many months, and, if you count the time we were together and living together, even years. He accused them and his entire family of betrayal and said they were all insane for supporting our marriage and letting it happen. He said I was a disgusting woman who crawled to his cousin only because I couldn't get him. He was convinced I only married Sam out of revenge, that I had no real feelings for Sam, and that I was just using him to make Felix jealous. And now that everything was out in the open, he wasn't jealous, just disgusted. I couldn't believe he was capable of saying such things about me, especially since none of it was true. If I really wanted to make him jealous, I would have done it a long time ago. I certainly wouldn't have waited for him to come crawling back just so I could say I was already married. And most importantly, I'm not some crazy, obsessed woman who got married just to hurt someone. I have real feelings for Sam, and that's why I'm with him. I don't owe Felix any explanations, so I didn't respond to him at all. Over the next few days, Sam and I tried to act like Felix had never come back and just kept living our lives. But a couple of days ago, he showed up again. And this time, we were both home. We had just gotten back from work when we heard Felix yelling outside. We went out and saw that he was making a drunken scene right in front of our house. He was screaming at the top of his lungs that we had ruined his life, even though it didn't make any sense since he hadn't even known about us until recently. As soon as he saw me, he broke down crying. He said he had truly loved me and had never stopped thinking about me, even while he lived in Germany. He said the only reason he didn't contact me was because he didn't want to disturb my peace by coming back into my life. He said he might have been able to accept that I was in a new relationship, but not that I had married his cousin, of all people. He called me selfish and heartless and said we were shameless to get married, considering my past with him. At that point, Sam called the police and they took Felix away. But I couldn't stop thinking about the things he said. It was hard to see him like that because he had always been a composed, stable person. It became clear to me that our relationship had truly broken him. Sam and I never discussed the incident. We just pretended it never happened. But I don't know how much longer we can keep pretending that none of this is happening. Honestly, we never really thought about what would happen if Felix came back, how he would react, what he would say about our marriage. And in theory, it shouldn't matter. But somehow it does. We could ignore my past with him as long as he wasn't around. But now that he's back and making his presence known, it's becoming harder and harder to ignore that part of my past. Luckily, there's no awkwardness between Sam and me, but we both know there are so many things left unsaid. I desperately want to talk about it and clear the air. At the same time, I can't deny that maybe Felix is right about one thing. It is kind of strange that I married his cousin. If my ex had married my cousin, I might have felt weird too, and the fact that his whole family knew and no one told him, that could have really crushed him. Even though it's not my fault, I can't shake the feeling that maybe it is. So yeah, maybe I did something wrong by marrying my ex's cousin after he dumped me via text message a week before our wedding. Well, before we move on to the update, I suggest you pause this video and write your own answer to the author's question. Personally, I think the story doesn't look very nice from the outside. But still, the author is absolutely right. What was she supposed to do? It's not easy to find a good guy. And if one comes along, why not? What would have happened if she had refused to be with Sam because of some moral rules, even though she liked him? Would Felix have come back eventually? And who knows what kind of state she would have been in at that point? And then what? Get back together with Felix? Definitely not. He showed his true colors. So between the two options, it's obvious to me that Sam is the better one by far. As for Felix's family not telling him anything, that's a more debatable issue. Maybe they should have told him. But to behave like he did, that's just awful. You really have to try to behave that terribly. So let's move on to the update. Update 1. Hi. First of all, thank you to everyone who responded to my post and supported us. It means a lot to both me and Sam. I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who said kind things about us, because we really needed it, especially with everything going on with Felix. It's been a week since the police took him away after he caused a drunken scene at our house. Almost the entire family knows about it now, and they've all reached out to tell us we're not to blame and that we shouldn't believe anything Felix said about us. There's nothing shameful or disgusting about our love and marriage. On the contrary, we should be proud of it and not let some bitter loser poison our lives with his hatred. Everyone has turned their backs on Felix, including his own parents. And I'm really glad. Not a single person from his family took his side, and that tells Sam and me everything we need to know. We have every right to be together. I never cheated on Felix. He dumped me in the worst way possible. Sam helped me through that and helped me heal. I have nothing to be ashamed of. Told my friends everything too, and they supported us as well. They said Felix had just gone insane with jealousy, and that really lifted my spirits. Still, Sam and I decided to go to a couples therapist because Felix's return was a real test for our relationship. We feel like there are some things we need to talk through and work on. We're starting in a few days. Update 2. Well, Felix gave us only 2 weeks of peace before launching his next attack. This time, he went online. Last time, he insulted us in person, showing up drunk at our house. This time, he wanted a bigger audience, so he posted a whole rant on the internet. He accused us of being together just to get revenge on him. He called us both losers who couldn't stand someone else's success. He said we probably bonded over our hatred of him and got married just to spite him. He even hinted that I never tried to get him back after the breakup, because I had already started seeing Sam, and that his leaving just gave me the perfect excuse. I felt sick just reading the implication that I had cheated on him. He knows perfectly. Well, that's a lie. I was madly in love with him, and he just threw me out of his life for the sake of a dream or whatever. He didn't even think I was worth a conversation. But in his mind, I was supposed to wait for him. That's the kind of inflated ego and delusion we're dealing with. I didn't see the post myself. Since our breakup, I haven't followed him anywhere, but a few friends sent me screenshots. I told them to tell him, if he doesn't stop, I'll sue him for defamation. Only then did he delete the post. Then he messaged me directly and said I deserved all of it, and called me a disgusting word starting with S. That was the final straw. I told him that if he messaged me again, I'd destroy his life so badly he'd never recover. And even after that, he had the nerve to reply. He said I did deserve Sam because Sam was a pathetic loser who barely scrapes by playing gigs and is a nobody without his guitar. He added that he already had someone prettier than me and didn't regret dumping me. The only thing he regretted was not doing it on our wedding day, so I'd cry even harder. I was shocked that he even thought this stuff, let alone actually wrote it. That's when I finally blocked him, though I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. I guess I just never expected him to message me, and I certainly wasn't going to message him first, so I never really thought about it. But now he's blocked for good, and he has no other way to reach me. If he shows up at my house again, I won't hesitate to file for a restraining order. Update 3. Hi again. I sent screenshots of my last conversation with Felix to his entire family and all his friends. Most of them weren't talking to him anyway, but the screenshots just confirmed to everyone that they had made the right choice. Everyone was just as shocked as I was when they read the messages, and everything suddenly made sense. His parents told us he started drinking while living in Germany. It turns out he really was telling the truth. He couldn't forget me, even while he was over there. And combined with the failure of his research project, that led him to drinking. Now he has a serious addiction. That explains his behavior, but it doesn't excuse it. His parents said he was living in a hotel, but they decided to take him home because they were afraid they might lose him. They apologized to both of us on his behalf and said they had to take care of him. He's their only child, and they couldn't live with themselves if they just gave up on him. Honestly, we understand their position and don't hold it against them. After all, they're his parents. And besides them, he has no one. And probably none of us really want something awful to happen to him, no matter what kind of person he is. His parents are good people. They always treated me well and even stood up to him when he was being awful. So if they want to help him, I respect that. As for me and Sam, we love each other more than ever. Family therapy has brought us even closer. In fact, we've already started talking about having a baby and finally building a family. I'm also negotiating a raise at work, and if everything works out, we'll be able to move to a bigger house in a better neighborhood. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. We're hoping everything will just keep getting better from here. Thank you for watching this video till the end. Write your opinion in the comments. Also, watch our previous videos, which you can find right here. Subscribe to our channel, and good luck to you.